Well, it's no secret that many network operators have been struggling to find new revenues since the fall in voice earnings. One man with strong opinions on this is our guest, Joe Hogan, founder and CTO of telecom solutions vendor Openet. Joe, it's really good to have you here.
Very good to be here. Thank you.
Joe, you've been quoted as saying that some vendors have historically failed to meet operators' business needs. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, well, I mean, we see, if I look back over the last couple of years, a lot of large vendors with a very services oriented model. So they're very dependent on driving a change request culture within their customers. And certainly this is quite incompatible with the speed and agility that operators need from the vendor community. So certainly we've seen that has been an impediment in terms of the speed with which operators are able to move, and certainly that's certainly why I would see that as a historical structural failing in a lot of vendors in the community.
And why is it that so many operators seem to have struggled to identify new revenue streams beyond voice? Are we talking about a majority here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a broad problem, and what would happen is that when they do have ideas, then they look through their BSS vendors and they see the cost of taking a risk on a new service and the amount of time it takes. And so they'd be quite conservative, because if it's going to take 6 months or a year, and if it's going to take a few $1 million or euros of changes to what would be historic, larger, more rigid BSS systems, then they would be slower to move on those services, and that acts as a kind of an impediment on the speed with which they launch services.
And when they have identified new revenues, do you think that some operators have been slow to actually achieve them? And if so, why?
Yeah, I think they certainly the pace with when they've made a decision, then the pace with which it goes into services again less than optimal. And I think in many cases they are cautious. They are reviewing the many different changes they make to their BSS stacks, and it is bringing an older architecture in most cases, bringing an older architecture into the future. And so we certainly see the disadvantage for not, renovating some of the key elements of the infrastructure to allow for more fluid, quick service introduction, and to be able to withdraw those services or change them if the feedback from the market requires a change. So this is, I think, a lot of it goes back to a kind of an accumulation of historic static systems that are very services heavy.
And you've talked about Openet's own continuous reinvention. What do you mean by that, and how is it enabling service providers to actually create new digital service revenues and even improve customer engagement?
Yeah, so I mean, we're a 20-year-old company this year. I set the business up. We kind of founded in '99, so we've had a number of celebrations to mark this point. And as with any company, and certainly as the CTO and the founder, I've been very conscious to make sure that we are always relevant to the market. So a couple of years ago, we took a firm decision to re-architect some of the systems and rebuild using the latest tooling that's available in the market and the latest approaches. So you do not retrofit microservices into your key systems. So we started afresh and rebuilt our charging and our policy systems in particular, so that they're microservices based, containerized. We went for conformance over configuration over code, so drove as much services out of the systems as possible. So these systems are certainly the latest architecture, and also allow for that agility which operators are craving for, and have the flexibility, at least from the configuration of the system, and that most things you want to do with it are already fundamental capabilities of the system. And so you get opportunities to do this over the company's history. We've done that 3 years ago, and we're really seeing the benefits of this. I think we have the most current state-of-the-art charging and policy systems in the market, and the amount of wins that we are accumulating is certainly good evidence that that's the case.
Joe, it's been a real pleasure to have access to your expertise. Many thanks for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much for your time, Jeremy. Take care.
It's been really good. And thank you, everybody, for joining us for another Quickfire video. Until the next time, bye for now.